I'm Haikal. My matrix number is 2103725, and I'll be presenting on the introduction of agriculture industry in Malaysia. I would like to start off with an opening statement by Ron Philly. Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Why does he mention money? In a small scale context, if you look into villages, you can pluck out a vegetable at the back of your own yard and significantly reduce your expenses compared to buying from the grocery or the market. But in a larger scale context, it involves money and it what drives the economy of our country in terms of farming. But at what expense of our agriculture industry has a place in Malaysia? What are the impacts of agriculture industry to fulfill the global demands, not just global demands, but also local demands in Malaysia in producing the supply to the demands? Therefore, we will look for to different views of agriculture that my friends will be explaining throughout the topics of agriculture industry in Malaysia.
Hi doctor and my friends, I'm Kathir Megankandan going to describe chemical fertilizer in agriculture industry. Chemical fertilizer refer to any number of synthetic compounds, substances created specifically to increase crop yield. If we see the fertilizer, there are two types of fertilizer. First is organic fertilizer, second is chemical fertilizer. Organic fertilizer are substances derived from remain or byproduct of natural organism that contain nutrient essential for plant growth. If chemical fertilizer is a substances of wholly or partially synthetic in that we are added to soil to support plant growth. So it may include many types of chemicals or any poisonous things. So when we see the example, organic fertilizers is humus, blood meals, bone meal, fish meal is an example of organic fertilizer. When we see example of chemical fertilizer is urea, ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate and sodium nitrate. There is some advantage and disadvantage of chemical fertilizer. First one is when we see chemical fertilizer, it can save our costs. Second is we can get or buy something in large quantity, and chemical fertilizers are mainly used because they are easy to dissolve and promote plant growth immediately, so the farmers can get the immediate income for them. So when we see disadvantage of chemical fertilizer is it will affect the soil quality by reducing its pH value and microorganisms that are present in soil, which help to improve the fertility of soil. So it will die using of chemical fertilizer. Next is cause pollution. So it will happen air pollution and land pollution like that. Next is toxic, and overuse can spoil our plant quality. When we buy some vegetables, it's look fresh, but when we see eat or test the qualities, definitely it is spoiled because of the chemical usage. From my findings, less hazardous chemical synthesis is the suitable principle we can apply to usage of chemical fertilization. So in these slides, you all can see some news that shown why we should apply this principle in chemical fertilizer. Firstly, news about Inche Lukman and Halias Hussein. They are make study more than 9 years. Then they take an initiative to create the quality fertilizer product for their oil palm commodity. Next news is government action or educators or experts action toward the principle. They organized a casual chat forum that described difference between organic fertilizer and chemical fertilizer to the peoples, the normal peoples. And the third news is 20-year-old elephant died at Maga near Pedu Dam because ate plant which put chemicals fertilizer by human. So we can see how harmful is a chemical fertilizer to the living things. The final news about Dato Zuraida Kamarudin, in addition to being able to provide return to farm operators to use fertilizer from organic waste, is also seen to help in aspect of food and safety. So government take action towards the people's healthy and to provide a healthy environment to the people. And finally, we can see some findings from article. First is Sustainable Agriculture in Malaysia by Farida Ahmad. She find out that Malaysia agriculture use large quantity of chemical fertilizer in order to sustain yield production. She conclude that Malaysia rely heavily on conventional method to produce, increase and sustain food production, there was an extensive use of chemical fertilizer to supply plant nutrient and chemical to kill the pest and the diseases. So from her findings, she concluded that even though their chemical fertilizer give more bad effects, Malaysian relied to use that chemical fertilizer to get more income. Next article, effect of organic and inorganic fertilizer on growth and yield component of traditional and improved rice genotype in Malaysia by Muhammad Anizuzaman. According to his study, production has increased tremendously in Malaysia through initiative irrigation and use of inorganic fertilizer and pesticides. He concluded that organic fertilizer in the form of chicken manure have a potential to increase the growth parameters, yield component and nutritional quality of rice. So from this, I would like to do a summary. Chemical fertilizer include pros and cons. By following less hazardous chemical synthesis, people can create a healthy and safer environment to human, animals and plants, because this principle defines that avoiding the use of toxic substances. Thank you.
My name is Fariha, and now let's take a look at pesticides usage. What is pesticide and why use it? A pesticide is any substance or mixture of substances whose purpose is to control various pests and disease carriers. Pesticides are also used in agriculture to control weeds, insect infestation, and diseases. There are many different types of pesticides. Some examples include algicides, antimicrobials, disinfectants, and fungicide. There are considerable benefits to pesticide use. The benefits include improved crops and livestock quality and increased crop and livestock yields. In the short range, pesticides reduce waste of crops, land, water, time, and other valuable resources. The disadvantages include domestic animal contaminations and deaths, loss of natural antagonists to pests, pesticide resistance, and contamination of groundwater. The fertility of soil is affected by the death or damage to microorganisms caused by pesticides. Further, some pesticides induce immunotoxicity in humans, which may lead to immunosuppression, hypersensitivity, autoimmune diseases, and inflammation. Do you know? Pesticide poisoning has become the second major cause of poisoning group after pharmaceuticals. In accordance with the fourth principle of green chemistry, designing safer chemical, one of the methods to assess green chemistry is with the use of eco-friendly or green pesticides as an alternative. Some of the examples are pyrethroids. Pyrethroids are pesticides found naturally in some chrysanthemum flowers. They are a mixture of 6 chemicals that are toxic to insects, but after a brief period of paralysis, these insects may recover rather than die. Insecticidal oils. It works by suffocating the pests. The oil cuts off the oxygen supply to the insects. This pesticide method primarily kills the eggs and insects which are not yet fully matured. It can be used to control spider mites, mealybugs, and aphids. These proper pesticides can ensure that our crops and our homes are safe and clean, effective and biodegradable with minimal environmental disruption. Eco-friendly or green pesticide methods are not fast-acting as chemical pesticides. However, they can be very effective over time. Simply said, a healthy garden is the best natural pest control available.
Hi, my name is Izati and I will explain to you about hydroponic farming. What is hydroponics? So basically, hydroponic is a way of growing plants that do not need soil for plants to grow. Unlike traditional way, hydroponic farming plants are grown in water instead of soil, and every crop is fed with nutrient-packed water. There are 6 types of hydroponic farming, which is wick system, water culture, EBB and flow, drip, NFT stands for nutrient film technology, and aeroponic system. For hydroponics farming, there are pros and cons. For pros, firstly, it can be done almost anywhere, even in your house. Second, It is safe money to spend on water and nutrients. Third, climate control overcomes seasonal limitation. Fourth, soil-borne diseases are no longer problems and easy to change crops and cultivar. For cons, the commercial operations can be expensive to start. Second, experience and expertise are really needed for large-scale hydroponics. And lastly, power and water outage can cause large-scale loss. Principles that are related to hydroponics farming are reduced derivative. Hydroponic is the eco-friendly gardening solution because most of the items used to do hydroponic farming are safe. The crops and plants aren't exposed to pesticide, chemical, and disease. For example, there are no chemical leaks to the water system because the water used is recirculated multiple times before being discarded. There are a few companies in Malaysia that are doing hydroponics farming. For example, City Farm, Greenbugs, and Sunway X Farms.
Okay, next, I'm Aminah Adila bint Ibrahim. We'll talk about agriculture pollution. What exactly is the agriculture pollution? Agriculture pollution refers to a biotic byproduct of farming practices that result in contamination or degradation of the environment and surrounding ecosystem and injury to humans and their economic interests. There are so many causes of agricultural pollution such as pesticide and fertilizers, livestock, contaminated water, and animal waste. But in this slide, I will focus on animal waste. Animal waste is defined as any waste consisting of animal matter that has not been processed into food for human consumption, such as blood, urine, manure, and so on. There are pros and cons of animal waste. The benefits include the ability to use animal waste as fertilizer, soil amendment, and energy source. The cons of animal waste are that it can cause foodborne illness, pollute drinking water source, and emit harmful gases into the atmosphere. Some of these gases include nitrous oxide, ammonia particulate matter, endotoxin, and hydrogen sulfide. Moreover, because thousands of animals are kept together in factory farms, the concentration of the gases produced can be extremely dangerous to the local community. For example, in livestock feeding, many residents had to deal with some issues caused by feed farm. They had to deal with awful smell and unhealthy environment. After years of tolerating the stick, they also noted their cats iron gate pitting and twisting with us. Celestial water tap turned black, then anything made a copper or breast turned green and swell. So basically, having to live with the awful smell and harmful gases released by animal waste can ruin people's health and quality of life. So moving on to the next slide. In my point of view, I would like to suggest real-time analysis for pollution prevention. Every problem has a solution, which is why there are technological solutions to keep this problem from getting worse. The technology called anaerobic digestion. So how does it work? Firstly, waste is collected and treated during the anaerobic process. After that, the waste is then fed into the digestion tank where anaerobic digestion takes place. Finally, two products will form. First product is methane, which is collected and stored for use as electricity and fuel. The second product is digested, which is rich in nutrient and nitrogen and can be used as a soil fertilizer. As we can see, the benefits of this technology are as follows. First, the technology can reduce of greenhouse emission, can reduce solid waste volumes, and can avoid responsive space and cost. That's all from me. Next, moving on to the next presenter.
So hi, I'm Farah. I'm gonna talk about next subtopic, which is agricultural practices. What is the agricultural practices? Agricultural practice is all activities conducted by a farmer on a farm to produce agricultural products and livestock. There are several steps regarding agricultural practices, which is landscape management. Landscape management includes maintenance and integration of physical elements, water, bodies, land cover, structure buildings, and climate conditions. Next step is soil preparation. Before a crop is grown, the soil needs to be leveled and ploughed bit deeply to prepare it for the sowing of seed. Then, sowing. Seed selection from good quality varieties is the principal step of sowing. The next step is manuring. Manure not only provides nutrient to plants but also restores soil fertility. Other backfill methods include crop rotation and legumes planting. After that, we can do irrigation step, which is supplying water to plants to ensure the plants is fertile enough. Next step is weeding. Several weeds can be removed with better soil preparation techniques. The next thing is integrated pest management. Integrated pest management is a series of methods including pest assessment, decision, and controlling techniques. For efficient control over your plants and their productivity, you can use electric garden sprayers to spray nutrients in the field. Next, the step of integrating crops and livestock can increase the diversity and environmental sustainability of both sectors. When the crop reaches maturity, the cutting starts and produce will be stored in a dry place. This process is known as harvesting. In the end steps of agriculture practices, the resulting grains are stored in warehouses for selling purpose. Therefore, the stores should be cleaned and dried before storing grains. What is the importance of agricultural practices? Firstly, agriculture practices supporting livelihoods through food, habitat, and jobs. Next, agriculture practices also provide essential resources for daily activities. It also providing raw material for food and other products. Lastly, it can build strong economies through trade. So, in my point of view, I would like to suggest the principle of use of renewable feedstock. By using renewable feedstock in chemical manufacturing, it can help to minimize the impact on the environment while also reducing production costs and increasing the return of investment. Thank you.
For the conclusion of this presentation is that I'd like to mention one of the agenda from COP27 is that they mention the importance of investing in innovation. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, it involves a lot of money. Therefore, United Nations are planning to lobby to invest a lot of money, a huge sum of money towards the innovations of agriculture, because different parts of the world, different regions of the world has different difficulties to produce those supplies. So Malaysia is no different than others. We also faces those problems, for example, droughts, climate change, pollution. Therefore, if we implement a better way with these principles of green chemistry, we would definitely have a better cultivations for our agriculture industry. Therefore, we would have a better ensured food chain, and also the safety of our uh, consumers in our country would be revolutionized in terms of the food security of Malaysia. We would definitely have a better nutritional values in our food supplies, reduces our carbon footprint, and also have a better sustainable distribution of our supply of agriculture. I hope this presentation would definitely give better insight towards the agriculture industry in Malaysia. And that's all for me. Thank you.